Yes, it is indeed possible to invest too well. Some of you are like, no, there's never too much money. I could always find a way to travel or give, and that's not what I mean. What I mean is there's a risk of investing too well and working too long and looking back going, why didn't I retire earlier? Or why didn't I consider potentially doing that remodel? Or why didn't I essentially give more to my child for that wedding? I'm going to tell you a real life story of my clients who invested too well, who are now telling me to tell my clients, here's other things I wish I would have done. So I'm going to walk through that with you today. Now, last week I know was a big episode. It was one of my longer ones. Hey, should you break up with an advisor? Should you not? How do you think through that? I invite you to check that one out. It is a lot of information in there if you have an advisor. If you don't, you still might find it valuable. Today's episode is back to the standard process where I'm going to go over a review of the week. I've got some fun, entertaining ones for you guys, a few funny comments that have been left that you're going to probably chuckle a few times possibly at, and then we're going to get into the real story here. So hopefully you guys are loving the content so far. I love all the comments, both when you guys send me emails directly to me, when you drop comments on YouTube, reviews on the podcast apps. It's awesome. So you guys are the reason I do this. So I'm pulling up the first comment here. I know you can't see this if you're just listening on the podcast apps, but I'm going to explain it to you. If, of course, you're watching on YouTube right now, you can check it out. Now, if you don't already know, my name is Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner, host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and I'm the vice president at Root. So first comment here. This comes from Kate Libby 1315. She goes, I took the new retirement route at 59. I have a $10,000 a year side gig that feels more like volunteer work. Now at 65, we've not touched our retirement funds. Spouse plans to take retirement in 2 years at 62. Next stage will be transitioning from saving to spending. The reason I'm highlighting this comment is because some of you are going to be like, what do you mean transition? Just go retire already and start spending if you're in a good spot. It's not that easy. You don't just flip a light switch and essentially go, oh, now I'm going to be able to just spend successfully. Because if you did, you wouldn't be where you are right now. The truth is it's hard, and it's more like dimming a light where over time you become successful at spending. It just doesn't happen overnight. And I think the only real way to do it is with an optimized financial plan, or else there's always going to be a little head trash in the back of your head. Yeah, I think I'm in a good spot, but what if it turns out I overspend? Or what if it turns out, I want to spend way more than I thought I initially projected? Or what if it's way less? And I'm going to tell you the real client story of one that it was way less. And you're like, what do you mean? I'm going to tell you about it in a second. So this is a comment I just like to make real brief. They probably didn't know I would highlight a comment like this because they might think it's pretty straightforward, but it's a big one. It's not like you can become an amazing spender overnight, and I don't need you to, but I want you to think about it in the following light. If you are an amazing saver and a good investor, and that's why you are where you are today, good for you. I'm proud of you. I don't get to say that to everyone. Now, if you continue being a good saver, you will not have success in retirement. You will be financially fine. You'll be financially more than fine, which is the story of today. But you're going to look back going, yeah, why didn't I do the remodel or travel if I was in a fine spot to do so anyways and still not run the risk of running out of money? You might go, you know what? No, it turns out I just love, whatever it is, volunteer work, or I love working and I'm going to keep working anyway. So it's not like a cookie cutter approach. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, I want to make sure that you are actually living your dream retirement and you don't have head trash of, I don't know if I'm in a good spot to spend. That's my point there. That's the first comment. The second comment, so I've got a second comment that I want to highlight. And then I've got, like I said, most of the weeks, I will do my best to pick one or two comments to highlight that are very kind. And then I encourage you guys, leave these comments, and it helps more people find the show. And that's my whole method here. So thank you guys. And I want to this is your show. It's not my show. And I try to make it as engaging as I can for you before hopping. And some of you are watching on YouTube right now, by the way. Hey, can you just get to it already? I've got chapters. And so if you want to skip to your part, hey, I just want to hear the story already. Or, oh my God, stories. This approach sucks. Just tell me, should I use the rule of 55 or not? I have plenty of content for all of you out there right now. So if you're I just want a specific thing, just search it next to my name and I promise it'll come up nice and easy for you. YouTube does a good job. So here's the other comment. This comes, and I've highlighted C. Francis 1968 before. He goes, hey, this is on a video it was all about pre-tax assets. I was saying, hey, should you convert? Should you not? Those Roth conversions. And he says, hey, not to mention, if one of them passes away, the surviving spouse is going to get really screwed on taxes. Even more of a reason for them to Roth convert, as it's inevitable one will outlive the other. So what C. Francis 1968 is wisely bringing up here, the benefit of Roth conversion goes beyond simply, hey, I pay a little bit in taxes today to avoid a big bill in the future. Yeah, there's a benefit to that. But what if, like C. Francis 1968 is saying here, what if you pass away? Well, now the spouse is inheriting that and they're now going to be paying taxes on that. So can you help out your spouse by doing a Roth conversion? So if you pass away, for the rest of their life, they're not getting creamed by taxes. Same approach with your children. So Roth conversions can really be a nice estate planning tool. So just want to mention that. So good job, C. Francis. Now here's my favorite one, and this one's funny. Okay, so this comes from HB-YQ8GY, and he says, it's funny 9 out of 10 financial gurus, I shouldn't say he, I don't know if it's a she or their gender, so I'll take that back. It's funny 9 out of 10 financial gurus, I don't like the word guru, but that's what he says here, okay? He says, it's funny 9 out of 10 financial gurus pushing Roth conversions on YouTube. If you have a pension and your spouse gets half your pension for life and will be claiming Social Security at 62, and you need the money from pre-tax accounts for monthly expenses, a Roth conversion doesn't make sense. Look, I read that and I'm like, hey, I don't totally disagree with you. Like, I'm reading that going, hey, there's a lot of validity. Now, it depends completely on how much that person wants to spend. Now, if they're like, listen, we don't want to really spend a lot of money and we're kind of frugal and we've got Social Security and something happens and there's a pension. Well, the reality is, if you're already not spending a lot, you have Social Security and you have a pension. One, I'd argue, are you potentially underspending? Two, I would then take it a step further and go, okay, yeah, you're right. Right off the bat, you might not think there's Roth conversions that are necessary because of what you said, but then as the money keeps growing, well, you're not even spending your money down. So imagine you have an IRA or a 401k and you're only living off Social Security. Well, do you want your IRA to not grow just so you don't have to pay RMDs in the future? No, that's like not accepting a bonus because you don't want to pay taxes. You want that money to keep growing, and as it keeps growing, in the future, you are going to have RMDs. So now this person, let's assume their spouse does pass away or doesn't, either way. Well, now we're talking about 2 Social Security benefits. We're talking about a pension. We're also talking about RMDs, and I don't know what other assets they have. So now their income could be huge, and now they're going to have what are called IRMA surcharges, which is essentially you're going to have to pay way more Medicare premiums than everyone else only because you invested well. So someone a few weeks ago, they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. So like I pay more and then I get more. I'm like, yeah, it's just without the getting more. You just pay more. It's almost like you make more money, you just pay more taxes. So that is I put on my little kind of, I'll put all the comments together. I nicknamed that an anti-guru comment. I don't like the guru word. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. So by no means am I some kind of guru. So those are the comments I want to go over. Now let's talk about the real life story here. So this couple comes to me. I've been working with them for some time now. I invited them on the podcast. They politely declined. They were nice about it. I said, hey, I'll blur out your faces. And they're like, we don't want to share, but I want you to tell everyone. I go, okay. So when they came to me, 2.5 million at age 55. Okay, so 2.5 million. Now they had more in like rental income and bank accounts and stuff like that, but keep it simple. Like, oh, 2.5, like IRA or Roth or 401k. It was a mix. Don't worry about that. Like, don't want to go too die. I like going into the weeds, but this is an example where you don't need to be for example's sake of what I'm going to portray to you today. So they have about $2.5 million across various accounts. They're 55. They are naturally frugal people. It is difficult for them to spend money, and spending money right now would not add to quality of life. Right now, meaning when I spoke to them when they were 55. Now, here they are in their 60s, and they're like, listen, Ari, I wish you would have kind of told us earlier we should have spent more when we had our energy and our health, where we could take more trips. Now, they couldn't anticipate they'd get a scary health event, which occurred to one of them. And then the other partner was like, listen, I don't, and they don't want me to say their names, but they know who they are. The other partner was like, listen, now I don't want to travel if I can't do it with my best friend. So now they're not traveling to the degree that they would like because of what has occurred. They had plenty of money to do it. They didn't have children. And so here they are regretting not spending enough money. And here's what's going to happen. They know this. They're even aware of it. And we're actually tackling it together. There's some planning points. So here they are with $2.5 million. I've mentioned it in previous episodes. Some of you have heard of this before, but it's called the Rule of 72, which tells you how long it will take for you to double your money. So if you get a 7.2% on average return, divide that by the 72, it's going to take you 10 years to essentially double your money. That's how long it's going to take you for your money to double. Now, let's see we got a 10% return instead of 7.2. Well, now it would take 7.2 years for you to double your money. So here they are at 55 with $2.5 million. Now, this particular couple, they like what they do, so good for them. But some of you are like, no, I don't love what I do. So here's the reason I bring that up. They are going to essentially not be withdrawing anything from this 2.5 million, and they weren't, and they're still working. Luckily, they like what they're doing. Now, when they call themselves retired, even though they're still working because they just do it because they want to. Now, they've got these low stressful jobs and they're enjoying it, and it doesn't bring in a ton of money, but allows them to do what they want to do and pay their bills. Here's my point. Here's what you need to know. They are not withdrawing from the money. So here they have $2.5 million at 55, and their money has done well, and it's close to doubled. And that's because they're doing better than just 7.2% return. Markets have done well. We're investing the right way, yada, yada. My point here is their $2.5 million, if we're just keeping it easy with math here, let's assume it doubles every 10 years. Okay, so they have $2.5 million today. In 10 years, they're going to be 65. Now, they're, once again, already in their 60s today. Just keep it easy. 55 is when they came to me. So that's what I'm basing this off of. $2.5 million going to become $5 million at 65. Then $5 million is going to become $10 million at 75. $10 million is going to become $20 million at 85. And so we're showing them this, and me and my team, and they're like, listen, I get it, but it just kind of feels fake. Like, I get that, but what if markets don't perform that well? I go, great, I'm with you. Let's assume it doesn't perform that well. Well, even if it doesn't, now instead of $20 million, we're looking at $13 or $14 million with conservative assumptions and inflation higher than it's probably going to be. Like, okay, so I still see I'm going to have millions of dollars, and yet why don't I feel like I can go spend? So here they are talking, and this was initially when they reached out. And I go, you know what? A lot of this is emotional. It looks good, but there's this fear. You've made income for 40, 50 plus years. Not really. For them, it was more like 30 plus years. In the traditional sense, where they started working in the early 20s, here they are now. They've worked 30, 40 years. And they're wondering, why is it that I don't feel confident that I can spend in retirement? And I said, one, because you're a human, not a robot. But two, because when you're looking at these numbers, it looks good, but like we need to really play out worst case scenario. And so we were doing a lot of the what if scenarios. What if they live way longer than they think? What if taxes go up? What if healthcare costs more than they think? You know, when they first came to me, they didn't have a scary health event going on. So now they're coming to me, and now we can fast forward to today, present day, and they're like, listen, and this is a learning lesson for me. They go, I wish you would have told me we could have done a remodel. And I wish you would have kind of even told me further. And I go, you're right. Like, I thought I did. And I thought I did show it to you clearly. But clearly I didn't convey it in a way that resonated with you. And so here they are. And they're like, listen, I'm not beating you up because I probably in the moment wouldn't have even done the remodel. But here they are right now. And they didn't get hurt or have a scary health event completely because of the remodel, but they're like, listen, if we would have had a home that was kind of more of the smart home with other features and things like that, and we would have taken care of the roof and done other things, and some of you are gonna, I know naturally, hey, did the roof fall on them? No, okay, but they wanted a home gym. They didn't do a home gym at the point. There were things that they wanted that they go, you know, I don't want to just think I can do these things and then run the risk of running out. And some of you don't have this head trash. And you're like, that's not going to be me. If I know and I have confidence financially, I'm good to go, I'm going to be fine. But the reason I'm telling you this story, it goes deeper than just, does the software say that you're on track? And so I'm telling you this because here's a couple that's saying right now, I wish I would have spent more. I don't have children. And even if I had children, I wish I would have spent more when we had our energy and health, because here they are now not able to spend to the degree that they would like. They still want to travel, but it's way more limited. They actually have to spend more money to be able to accommodate stuff that they're going through. So it's a tough situation. And they're essentially not easy to talk about, but they're essentially going, listen, we don't want to die going, we have $12 million. Now we're in a different stage of life, and it took us time to get to this headspace. So I came to them and I said, okay, what could I have done differently to essentially create more success in your ability to spend for you to feel comfortably? Is it more stress testing? They go, no, we did all of that. I remember that. I felt good about it. One of them felt more strongly than the other, but it's a team approach. And I go, okay, what could we have done differently? They go, all that could have occurred differently is that we would have educated ourselves earlier. I don't think it actually would have made us change anything. And I went, well, that's a powerful statement, because what you're saying is someone could tell you anything and you're still not going to have the confidence because you have to feel it. And the only way you're going to feel it is if you're making the decision on your own. It's my job to quantify all these trade-offs and come back to you and make sure you understand the magnitude of all these decisions. But I said, hey, are you going to really only have confidence now if you actually feel that you can do it? And how do you feel that? If it's not through showing you in multiple conversations. They go, oh, that helped, but I wish I would have known about a lot of this stuff earlier, and I wish I would have heard from other people who are in my situation. So one of the things that a lot of you know, and the reason I'm telling you this story, right now I have my early retirement academy. I don't get to work with all of you guys. And so I created this very affordable option for a few $100. You're able to go in there and you're able to essentially have the same access to the tools that, in large part, not every tool, but a lot of them I use with my clients, and you can see all about it in the description. I am then going to, and if you're listening to this right now, it may have already been launched. It's unlikely, but I'm currently in the phase of testing this, where I'm going to launch a community where people just like these clients I'm talking about right now with you would have had the opportunity to learn from other people in that situation, because it's one thing to hear it from me. It's another thing to hear it from me on YouTube and go through software. It's another thing to hear it from other people who have actually done it, have actually retired early, did the remodel, are so grateful they did. And if that means that this couple that is a current client of mine would have 1% more confidence to maybe spend more when they were in a fine spot to do so, that's why I'm doing it. So this is a community feature that's going to allow people like you who are interested in early retirement go, you know what, maybe, in my 50s, I will stop working. And let me hear what other people have to say when they stop working in their 50s. And you might go, wow, good to know. Nope, turns out that a lot of these people are really struggling with purpose and fulfillment, so I'm going to keep working. You might go, know what? No, this is really interesting. Yeah, I see. I'm kind of just doing the whole goalpost planning. I'm just pushing back one more month, one more bonus, one more year. But if I could have like a community to help me with this and understand like, hey, what should I do, and guide me maybe even along the way, that'd be cool to know. So this is not something I have in place today. Now, the truth is, by the time this podcast comes out, it might be, but I doubt it. And so the reason I'm not doing this to hype you up, I'm doing this to say, hey, this is real life stuff here. Money is personal. And these stories that I'm telling, today's more of a story episode. If you want, of course, more of just the kind of direct, hey, how do I implement this conversion? And I've got plenty of that. I have hundreds of hours of that content. I want to come to you with more real life stories so you actually can start to go, wow, I'm going to think differently about my retirement. So that was the goal of the podcast today. Hopefully this was helpful, not rocket science stuff, but kind of the more emotional stuff. What is the plan for purpose and fulfillment? Meaning my current couple that I'm giving you an example of today, I wouldn't let them stop working. And you're like, hey, they have plenty of money, I'm sure. They had 2.5 when they started with you, and you say that they've done really well and they've got a lot of money now. Yeah, financially they're fine. They don't know what they would do in retirement. So they want to travel and they've got kind of health stuff going on, but they get a lot of purpose and fulfillment from these jobs that don't pay them a ton of money. They love it. So I would come to them and say, listen, if I forced you to stop working, what would you do? And we had a conversation, and for them it made sense to keep working because they like doing it. Other people, it's like, no, you tell me I can get with my family and just spend more time doing that, great. So this is a really important thing I want you guys to think about, which is, okay, great. How do I kind of fulfill my time in retirement? And what are things I want to do? And some of you are like, listen, you tell me financially, I'm good to go. You give me the list. Like I'm never going to be bored. There's so many things I wish I could do. I just can't do them right now. Some of you are like that. Some of you are the opposite. So this story hopefully is going to help you go, yeah, you know what? I'm going to look, and you guys, and this is something I do have right now. I have my academy, which is if you want to play around with the software and go, hey, what am I on track for? 5 million, 10 million, 20 million. You can start to see and run projections on your own to go, wow, okay, yeah, I don't necessarily need to die with that amount of money, but I've got 3 kids and got to understand how I get them through college, and okay, what am I going to actually be worth? And really start to play around so that you do have confidence and you don't get into your 60s and 70s or 50s or 80s or whatever it is going, why didn't I spend more when I was in a fine spot to do so? Now, I'm naturally conservative, so I'm the first person to say, hey, don't spend if you don't have the capacity or ability to do so, okay? But if you do, it's, hey, let's start talking about if you're going to buy a new home, how much home could you buy? Does it make sense to maybe get a second home? How much joy would that bring to you? Okay, what are all the things financially, if you didn't have to think about it, you would do? And you can go and put those into the model in the software and go, yeah, I'm going to go to the US Open, and I'm going to do National Geographic private jet trips. And it might tell you, hey, you're going to run out of money at 80 if you do that. You might go, cool, I'm not going to take trips every year like that, but what if I do 2 or 3 of those trips? Could I do that? How much of an impact does that make on my retirement? And be able to do things like that. So lastly, if you want to work with us, of course, this is what we love doing. Reach out to us. You can see in the description, we do holistic planning for those that really want to optimize what they've worked so hard for, and we love doing it. So that's it for today, guys. If this is helpful, please like this video, share it. This, of course, is a podcast as well, so please be sure to share this with friends. It's more fun to retire with friends. So I encourage you and appreciate you doing so.